love in sight, where troops dare to roam. Gary Franchi stood tall in the light. He found home with a lantern held high in the dark of deceit. Founded a Lone Lantern Society, won't accept defeat. Raise your voice, light up the skies with the next news network where the real truth lies. From the reality report to the fight to be free, Gary's the voice in the fight for liberty. Aaron Russo called with a mission so bold to restore the Republic to the days of old. As the national director, he took up the cause against all the tyranny without pause. Raise your voice, light up the skies with the next news network where the real truth lies. From the reality report to the fight to be free, Gary's the voice in the fight for liberty. March on the Fed, his voice loud and clear. End the Fed! For all to hear. In 2008, the movement grew tall. A pack for Ron Paul, Gary gave it his all. Raise your voice, light up the skies with the next news network where the real truth lies. From the reality report to the fight to be free, Gary's the voice in the fight for liberty. The lantern of light, Gary Franchi, forever in the fight. With news that's real in a world so surreal, he stands for freedom with undying zeal.
Good evening, America. Angie Russ here with N3 Primetime. Buckle up. We've got a jam-packed show tonight that'll blow your mind. Gary's hot on the trail of some explosive stories. Is Bird Flu Summit about to shake up the election? We've got the scoop. Plus, we're exposing the left's desperate smear campaign against Trump. You won't believe what they're up to now. And talk about drama, the Dems are in full panic mode over Biden. Hollywood's turning on him, and we've got the inside scoop on the party's secret plans. But that's not all. Wait till you hear about Biden's latest fumble on the world stage. It's a doozy that's got everyone talking. And don't miss our comment section where we're reading your takes live. Plus, in looking at you, we're spotlighting someone stirring up trouble you need to know more about. Get ready because N3 Primetime starts now.
Good evening and welcome to N3 Primetime. I'm Gary Franchi. Tonight we're diving into stories that matter to you, the American people. We're talking about a suspicious bird flu summit that echoes past global crises. We're exposing the left's desperate attempt to smear President Trump, and we're pulling back the curtain on the Democrat Party's panic over Biden's faltering campaign. But it's not just about politics, it's about your future, your family's safety, and the essence of our republic. You know, folks, running this show is a lot like steering a ship through a storm. For over a decade, we've been that steady hand on the wheel, guiding you through the choppy waters of mainstream media lies, but now we're facing our own perfect storm. Just like Biden stumbling through press conferences, big tech is tripping itself over trying to silence us. YouTube, our home for over 10 years, has slammed the door in our face. Alternative platforms are looking at us like we're speaking a foreign language. But here's the thing, we refuse to abandon ship. We are not just fighting to keep the lights on, we are fighting for the soul of America. And we need your help to weather the storm. Your support, whether it's a donation or a prayer, is the wind in our sails. It's what keeps us afloat in these treacherous waters. The links below are your lifeline to us and to the truth. Together, we can navigate through the storm and emerge stronger on the other side, because that's what Americans do. We face challenges head on, and we come out on top. Now let's turn to Angie. What stories are you bringing us tonight?
First up, Elon Musk is taking on the ad world's big shots. He's not just talking, he's ready to sue. Why? Because these corporate bigwigs are trying to silence conservative voices by hitting us where it hurts, the wallet. And get this, even the left's darling Stephen Colbert is turning on Biden. He's questioning if old Joel's got the brains to beat Trump. Ouch. Speaking of Biden, we've got a hot mic moment you won't believe. A top Democrat governor lets slip he's worried sick about Biden's chances. Is the left finally waking up? But it's not all politics tonight. We've got a miracle story out of Louisiana that'll warm your heart, and a beach day gone wrong that every parent needs to hear more about. Stay tuned as Gary brings us our first special report of the night.
Breaking news, Patriots. In a shocking turn of events, global elites are gathering for a bird flu summit just weeks before our crucial election. Sound familiar? It should. We've seen this script before, and it didn't end well for the American people. But what are they really planning this time? The answers will chill you to the bone. So stay tuned for my final thought. It's a wake-up call you cannot afford to miss. The fate of our republic might just depend on it. And just as the global elite are preparing for a potential bird flu crisis, smart Americans are preparing their finances. Gold prices have soared past $2,400 an ounce in 2024, not because gold is getting expensive, but because the U.S. dollar is weakening. As some countries consider abandoning the petrodollar, the national debt is skyrocketing above $36 trillion. Don't let your wealth vanish in a potential economic pandemic. Call Global Gold Investments today at 888-700-4148. Mention Next News for VIP treatment from America's conservative precious metals dealer. They're offering a 5-year IRA fee waiver program on qualified rollovers. Protect your financial health. Call that number on the screen, 888-700-4148 now, or visit IRAGoldproof.com. You'll find the link down below. Now let's dive into what's really going on. The International Bird Flu Summit is scheduled for October 2nd through the 4th of this year in Arlington, Virginia, just a stone's throw away from the CIA headquarters and mere weeks before our critical election. If this doesn't set off alarm bells, well, you haven't been paying attention. Now let's connect some dots. This bird flu summit isn't happening in a vacuum. Remember Event 201? That was the pandemic simulation hosted by none other than Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, along with the World Economic Forum, just weeks before the world turned upside down in 2020. And wouldn't you know it, Bill Gates has been warning about bird flu for years. Coincidence? Well, you be the judge, but it's not just talk anymore. The threat is becoming real. Take a look at this recent news report.
The Center for Disease Control has confirmed yet another human case of bird flu in the United States. According to the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, a Colorado dairy farmer is the 4th confirmed human case of bird flu this year. There's currently no confirmed human avian flu cases in New Mexico, but 7 cases of birds affected by the flu have been reported in the state. There have also been cases of the flu in cattle in New Mexico.
You heard that right. The CDC has confirmed another human case of bird flu in the United States. A Colorado dairy farmer is the 4th confirmed human case this year. And it's not just affecting humans. Cattle are also falling victim to this flu. It's happening right now, folks, not in some distant future. Now, the summit brings together some of the cast of characters, global elite, big pharma, and global officials to discuss mass casualties, medical interventions, and get this, narrative control on social media. It's like they're reading from the same playbook with Gates as a key player. But here's where it gets even more concerning. The U.S. government has been pouring millions into what they call gain-of-function research on the H5N1 virus. They claim it's for developing treatments, but let's call it what it really is. They are making these viruses more dangerous. Now, that's right, folks. Under the guise of peaceful purposes, our government can legally create what amounts to biological weapons, and they're doing it with your tax dollars. Recently, they handed over $176 million to a big pharma company to develop new treatments for H5N1. And now there's talk of bypassing the usual safety protocols for approving these treatments, just like they did in 2020. Dr. Richard Bartlett, a respected health expert, he warns, quote, "I'm extremely concerned that the public will not be able to connect the dots. Anticipate the same playbook used during the last health crisis will be used during this potential bird flu pandemic." Now, the timing couldn't be more suspicious. Both the legislative and executive branches rushed through a massive spending bill at the beginning of the year, allocating $1 billion to future influenza pandemics. They know something that we don't, folks. Now, the bird flu summit isn't just a public health concern. It's about control. They're discussing mass fatality management, business continuity with 50% absenteeism, and how to handle public panic. They're planning for a crisis before it even happens. Now remember, these are the same people who locked us down, masked us up, and tried to mandate medical procedures, and now they're at it again, potentially using a health crisis to influence our election. Now, we have seen this before, and we can't let it happen again. A republic's at stake, and we need to stay vigilant, ask the tough questions, and hold these global elite accountable. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Is this bird flu summit really about protecting public health, or is there a hidden agenda? Why schedule it so close to our critical election? Remember how the last crisis unfolded? Are we seeing history repeat itself? What's at stake for our republic if we don't pay attention? How might this influence the vote in November? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves, America. The answers could shape the future of our nation. Are you ready to connect the dots and make your voice heard? Next up, Elon Musk plans to sue over the ad boycott against conservative media, aiming for criminal charges against those involved. Angie has more.
Elon Musk is hitting back at the ad boycott against conservative media after a House GOP hearing exposed collusion between advertisers and so-called free speech guardians. Musk says X will sue those behind the boycott. He even hopes for criminal prosecution. The House Judiciary Committee's report reveals a scheme by big corporations and ad agencies to cut off money to platforms they don't like. This GARM group claims to promote responsible media, but really just targets conservative voices. They're happy to advertise on leftist shows like The View, but won't touch Daily Wire or Newsmax. It's a biased cartel trying to silence the right. Don't miss Gary's ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. Next, we uncover the left's smear campaign against Trump, exposing Biden's misinformation tactics and the real agenda behind Project 2025.
Got some breaking news, Patriots. The left's latest attack on Trump has backfired spectacularly. We've uncovered a web of lies so twisted it'll make your head spin. Hakeem Jeffries, Biden's campaign, and the mainstream media are pushing a narrative that's about to crumble. So what is Project 2025, and why are they so desperate to pin it on Trump? Stick around for this special report because our final thought will blow the lid off their entire scheme. You won't believe what we've uncovered. Now, folks, just like how the left is trying to manipulate the truth about Project 2025, they are also manipulating our economy. Our dollar is getting weaker by the day, and when other countries dump it, we are in for a world of hurt. Meanwhile, our national debt is skyrocketing past $36 trillion. It's time to protect yourself. Call Global Gold Investments at 888-700-4148. Mention Next News for VIP treatment from America's conservative precious metals dealer. They're offering a 5-year IRA fee waiver on qualified rollovers. So call that number on the screen, 888-700-4148 now for a free portfolio analysis and their 2024 Insure Your Money Wealth Preservation Guide. Again, that's 888-700-4148 or click IRAGoldproof.com in the description. Don't let the left's lies devalue your future. Now, let's dive right into this bombshell story. Hakeem Jeffries just can't seem to let go of a lie. Take a look at what he said at his press conference, his first one since Biden's debate disaster.
This week has once again made clear that the extreme MAGA Republican agenda is to jam Trump's Project 2025 down the throats of the American people.
Did you hear that? Jeffries is still pushing the false narrative that Project 2025 is Trump's, but here's the kicker. It's not Trump's at all. Even USA Today, hardly a conservative outlet, had to set the record straight. But don't take our word for it. Here's what Donald Trump had to say about this so-called Trump 2025 project. Look at this. That's right. Trump knows nothing about it. He didn't create it. He's not involved with it. And he's calling out the left's disinformation campaign for what it is, a desperate attempt to smear him. Now let's talk about what Trump and the GOP are actually pushing. Let's take a look at the real platform, shall we? Yes, this is the true Trump agenda, rebuilding our cities, strengthening our military, protecting Social Security and Medicare. It's about making America energy independent, bringing back manufacturing and securing our borders. That is what Trump stands for, not the Heritage Project, the Heritage Foundation project that he's never even seen. But the left won't let facts get in the way of a good smear campaign. MSNBC and their cronies are desperately trying to link Trump to Project 2025. They're even using a clip from a Heritage Foundation dinner back in April of 2022. Watch this.
Our country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
Now, let me be clear. Praising a conservative think tank at a dinner is a far cry from endorsing every project they undertake. But the left doesn't care about nuance or truth. They are in full smear mode. And it gets worse, folks. The Biden campaign has stooped to new lows. They've actually registered a fake domain, trumpsproject2025.com. Take a look at this. That's right, they created a fake website to spread their lies, and it doesn't stop there. We've uncovered evidence that the Biden campaign is using international bots to push this false narrative. Watch.
Is Joe Biden using bots in third world countries to push conspiracy theories about Donald Trump? So Joe Biden's official campaign Twitter claims that more and more people are searching the term Trump's Project 2025. So we decided to just check out who was searching it. We checked Google Trends, and there's several big spikes. One on June 13th with 100% search popularity in Senegal, Africa. The term search popularity had another push yesterday in Senegal. At 10:04, it was at 0% popularity, and then 10:12, it spiked straight up to 100 and then straight back down. There were more pushes today. It peaks in countries like India, Ukraine, Bangladesh, and Vietnam, all places notorious for massive bot farms. In the past 30 days, in terms of countries who have actually searched the term, the US is the country where the term is the least popular, and it all just makes me wonder.
Well, well, well. Those spikes in activity, they're coming from places like Senegal, India, and Bangladesh. Not exactly your typical American voters, are they? Well, Ben Shapiro called out this deception when he confronted Representative Eric Swalwell, and watch how Swalwell squirms.
Mr. Shapiro, thank you for joining us today. I think it is important that you're here as one of the leading conservative voices in the country. And the country has, in the last couple weeks, talked a lot about and Googled Project 2025. It's one of the most Googled search terms right now. And you're not going to get any censorship from me. So I just wanted to know, from your perspective, I think it would help us understand, on just like a scale of 0 to 100%, how much do you support Project 2025?
I think, like President Trump, I haven't looked all that deeply at Project 2025, but it seems that Democrats on this committee, sort of like Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, if they say Project 2025 enough, their presidential candidate becomes alive again.
And so, well, let's just talk about pieces of it, and I guess you can tell me if you support it. You probably want less bureaucracy, right?
I do.
I want less bureaucracy. You want more efficiency?
I do.
I want more efficiency. You want taxpayer money spent wisely?
I do. Congrats on becoming a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents would be proud.
And if you need more proof of the Biden campaign's involvement, just look at their financial disclosures. They paid for that misleading website, folks. It's right there in black and white. And Biden himself is spreading this disinformation. See that? Right there on the screen. Now let's talk about what Project 2025 actually is. It's a Heritage Foundation initiative with 4 main promises. You ready? Well, here they are. It's about restoring family values, dismantling the bloated administrative state, defending our sovereignty, and securing individual rights. These are conservative principles, sure, but they're not Trump's personal project. As Michael Knowles explains, Project 2025 is about staffing future conservative administrations with quality personnel. Watch.
What is Project 2025? It is a project of the Heritage Foundation, which is the greatest of the conservative think tanks. I mean, greatest in a very technical sense. It's the biggest, it's the oldest, it's the most established conservative think tank. It is right now led by a guy named Kevin Roberts, who is a national treasure. He's done an excellent job at Heritage. Sometimes Heritage has been run by real conservatives. Sometimes Heritage has been run by squishes. Kevin is the real deal. And Kevin helped to bring about this Project 2025, which is in partnership with other conservative organizations to deal with one problem and one problem only: staffing, personnel. A big problem for Trump's first term is that he had trouble getting really good people. You know, he only hires the best people, but the trouble is the way that Washington works and the way that his administration had been set up by forces that were largely outside of his control, it was hard for him to attract really good people. And the bureaucracy is 2 million people, so it's very difficult to get your guys in there in such a way that you can actually turn that ship of state. So Project 2025 exists for personnel, because personnel is policy.
Folks, the left is scared. They're scared of Trump. They're scared of conservative policies, and they're scared of losing power. That's why they're resorting to these dirty tactics. But we are here to set the record straight. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Patriots, what we've uncovered today is nothing short of a full-scale disinformation campaign. The less desperate attempt to pin Project 2025 on Trump is a smokescreen, a pathetic effort to distract from the Biden administration's failures. They're using every dirty trick in the book: fake websites, international bots, misleading clips, all to avoid facing their own disastrous record. But we won't let them get away with it. This isn't just about Trump or Project 2025. It's about truth, integrity, and the future of our republic. So stay vigilant, stay informed, and keep fighting for what's right. The left's house of cards is crumbling, and we are here to knock it down. Next up, Angie's got a story on Stephen Colbert hilariously questioning Biden's mental fitness in a Dr. Seuss-style poem, even suggesting he should step aside.
Late night host Stephen Colbert just roasted Biden with a Dr. Seuss-style takedown. The comedian, usually a Biden fan, questioned the president's mental fitness in a hilarious poem. Is he mentally fit? Can he serve a whole term? Can he beat RFK with his brain full of worm? Colbert went on. He even suggested Biden should step aside for the country's good. This comes as more Democrats, including George Clooney, call for Biden to bow out. Some even think Obama's behind the push to oust Joe. Looks like the left's getting cold feet about Grandpa Joe's 2024 run. Will he take the hint, or will he keep stumbling along? Don't miss Gary's ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. Coming up, we'll discuss the turmoil in the Democratic Party as key figures work behind the scenes to address Biden's struggling campaign.
Breaking news tonight: Democrats in disarray as Biden's presidency teeters on the brink. Hollywood elites and party insiders are jumping ship, leaving the White House scrambling. We've got explosive video revealing what's really happening behind closed doors, from Obama's secret phone calls to Pelosi's backstage maneuvering. We'll uncover it all. And wait until you hear Trump's blistering response to the unfolding drama. Plus a shocking development about Kamala Harris that could change everything. So stay tuned. You won't believe our final thought on this crisis. Now, folks, before we dive deeper into this political storm, let me tell you about another crisis brewing, one that's hitting Americans right in their wallets. Just like Democrats are feeling how they're fleeing from Biden, millions are desperately trying to escape skyrocketing AC bills. But unlike Joe, I found a solution that actually works. It's a game-changing device that's helping me slash my cooling costs and beat those greedy utility companies at their own game. This mini AC unit can make any room icy cold in minutes, potentially saving you a fortune. Visit EasySummerCool.com now for up to 60% off with a 60-day guarantee and fast USA shipping. Don't let high bills leave you sweating like Biden's campaign staff. Now let's jump right into it. Yes, this political powder keg, it's threatening to blow the Democrat Party sky high. The Biden administration's in full-blown crisis mode, and it's not just us saying it. It's coming from right within their own ranks. Now, it's no secret that Joe Biden's been stumbling lately, but what's happening behind the scenes is even more shocking. We've got intel that former President Barack Obama is playing puppet master, orchestrating moves that to potentially push Biden out of the race. Don't believe me? Well, take a look at this bombshell report from, of all places, Morning Joe.
I will say one thing that we do have to underline here, just so viewers can follow what's going on behind the scenes, is the Biden campaign and many Democratic officials do believe that Barack Obama is quietly working behind the scenes to orchestrate this. And if Joe Biden believes that, That's not going to get him out of the race any faster. Anytime David Axelrod attacks him, David Axelrod ensures that Joe Biden will dig himself in another day.
Playbook is reporting this morning that George Clooney gave former President Obama a heads up about the op-ed he was going to post in the New York Times. President Obama reportedly, according to Playbook, didn't object.
I love Matt Damon, but you know, George Clooney. I mean. Oh, brother, where art thou, Willie? And
I did like that movie.
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
And I don't like movies.
My children and I have seen Fantastic Mr. Fox more than any other movie in the history of mankind, so I cannot diss George Clooney if I actually want to ever watch that with my kids again.
This wasn't George Clooney.
What do you mean?
It just wasn't. Come on.
Who do you think it was? Matt Damon?
It was not Matt Damon.
Who do you think it was?
It wasn't Julia Roberts either.
Who do you think it was? You can say the name. You won't melt. It's not Voldemort. Are you saying you think Barack Obama put him up to this?
I think that Barack Obama has a lot of influence, and I think that there's a lot there.
You heard that right. Obama's quietly pulling strings, and it's causing panic in the Biden camp. But it gets worse. Hollywood heavyweight George Clooney, a longtime Democrat darling, dropped a nuclear bomb on Biden's re-election hopes. Check out what he wrote in the New York Times. "We are not going to win in November with this president." Clooney is not mincing words here, folks. He's saying what we've all been saying: Biden is not up to the job anymore. And guess who's loving this Democrat meltdown? None other than President Trump. Here's what he had to say about Clooney's betrayal. He turned on Crooked Joe like the rats that they both are. Trump is hitting the nail on the head. Biden's presidency has been a disaster, and now even his Hollywood pals are jumping ship. But it is not just Clooney. Even CNN's Jake Tapper couldn't ignore this growing revolt. Watch this.
As the floodgates against Joe Biden's continued candidacy appear to be opening a bit, the day began with the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, seeming to suggest that Biden should reconsider his decision to run for re-election, and other lawmakers followed suit. But the most damning opinion shared today came from Academy Award-winning actor George Clooney, who emphatically called on President Biden to step aside in a New York Times op-ed titled, "I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee." Clooney, who has led some of the Democratic Party's biggest fundraisers in American history, including for Biden on June 15th, writes in the op-ed, quote, "I love Joe Biden as a senator, as a vice president, and as president. I consider him a friend, and I believe in him, believe in his character, believe in his morals. In the last 4 years, he's won many of the battles he's faced, but the one battle he cannot win is the fight against time. None of us can. It's devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe big effing deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate."
Nancy Pelosi, the former speaker, is also getting in on the action. She's reportedly giving the green light to vulnerable Democrats to distance themselves from Biden. It's every man for himself in the Democrat Party right now. And if you thought it couldn't get any worse for Biden, just wait. His own campaign staff are on the verge of mental breakdowns. The pressure is so intense that they are resorting to desperate tactics. Now get a load of this pathetic response to Clooney's criticism.
And in response to those comments from George Clooney, Jake, a campaign official who attended that Los Angeles fundraiser tells me that George Clooney left 3 hours before the president. So clearly the gloves are off. Jake?
But what does that mean, that George Clooney left 3 hours? What's the point?
The point of that is to suggest that Biden's stamina is better than Clooney's, and Clooney didn't have, eyes on the entire event. That's the response to the Clooney op-ed.
Okay. Kayla Tashi, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Karen Finney.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to talk Clooney.
I will. I know this is your favorite topic. Look, it just seems like every day is going to be like this, with people saying he should drop out, people that are Democratic Party stalwarts. George Clooney gets nothing out of this. What does he gain? The only reason to do this is because he feels like he needs to convey this.
Yeah.
How does this end?
So let's just stipulate to the facts that this is not good. This is bad. Let's just say the obvious, right?
Okay, thank you.
Can you believe that? They're actually trying to say Biden has more stamina than Clooney because he stayed at a fundraiser longer. Talk about grasping at straws. But here's the real kicker, folks. While Biden's ship is sinking, his team is already eyeing the lifeboats. We've got word that they're secretly testing how Kamala Harris would fare against Trump. Watch.
The reporting is it involves the Biden campaign, and they are assessing the viability of a candidacy by the vice president. Let me bring in Monica Alba. Monica, what can you tell us about how they're looking at Kamala Harris and why?
Well, NBC News is confirming this was first reported by the New York Times, Chris. But what's significant here is that I'm told by a source that's familiar with this testing that is going on this week that this is being done in the context of trying to assess how she would fare against the presumptive Republican nominee as a direct result of what we have seen Donald Trump do in the last couple of days, which is to step up his attacks against her specifically, given there are questions about whether Joe Biden will still be the Democratic nominee in November. He insists that he will, but of course we know, as you were just discussing, because of this pressure from other Democrats and lawmakers, that there could be a change here if the president decides to step aside. So the Biden campaign is doing this. I understand that this is being commissioned by the Biden campaign's own analytics team. And importantly, and what we should point out here, and what a Democratic operative told us, is that essentially this is something you would be doing if you're trying to give a message to President Biden to sort of test how the vice president would do and whether she may fare better, worse, or the same as he is doing in the current polling, that this would be a data point that you could maybe show to the president as he, in the weeks ahead, could potentially have difficult conversations about his candidacy. Again, the Biden campaign is saying that he is full steam ahead. That is what they're certainly insisting publicly. But I think this is a concession that there are larger conversations going on about if there would be a change at the top of the ticket, and that the natural person, as we've been talking about, the mechanisms for how this would work would be Vice President Kamala Harris. So that is the next sort of part of this story in terms of how she would do. And there has been some polling out there already where they've been trying to sort of test how she would do against Donald Trump. But obviously the Biden team, for their own interests, wants to have their own assessment, and that is why they're going to be continuing with that polling. It sounds like at least this week, and then we'll see what the actual results of that. But we should also point out, Chris, that according to a memo that we obtained today, the Biden campaign and senior advisors are saying that, yes, they're acknowledging there has been real movement in what we've seen in the polls, certainly in those battleground states since the disastrous debate performance 2 weeks ago. But they're insisting that it doesn't amount to a sea change in the state of the race. And so, again, they are trying to argue that Joe Biden is still their candidate, still the nominee, still the person that they're going to go on this journey with. But it is notable that they are zooming out and taking this larger picture should that change.
This is huge, folks. It's a clear sign that even Biden's inner circle is losing faith. They're preparing for the worst, and Kamala Harris might just be their Hail Mary pass. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Folks, let's be real here. Biden's days are numbered, and as they eye Kamala, we all know the truth. We want Joe to stick around. Trump's going to mop the floor with him come November, and even if they prop up Kamala, she doesn't stand a chance either. It's almost comical watching Clooney turn his back and Obama pull the strings. You know, it reminds me of a Babylon Bee headline that I saw. In the new Ocean's 14, George Clooney pulls off $30 million heist by tricking people into giving money to a politician before revealing he's demented. Except this time, it's not a movie. It's the Democrat Party. And America is the one being robbed blind. Next up, Illinois Governor Pritzker's hot mic comments reveal growing Democrat panic over Biden's campaign following his poor debate performance. Angie has the details.
Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois was caught on a hot mic expressing worry about Biden's campaign. At a crime-fighting event, Pritzker was overheard saying, "I don't like where we are, and we're just going to keep fighting." This comes after Biden's poor debate performance against Trump. More Democrats are calling for Biden to step down, including Hollywood big shot George Clooney. Even Michael Douglas says he's concerned about Biden's chances. Despite defending Biden publicly, Pritzker's private comments reveal growing panic in the Democratic Party. With Trump gaining ground, the Democrats are sweating bullets over Biden's ability to win in November. Don't miss Gary's ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. Next, Biden's gaffe at the NATO summit reignites concerns about his mental fitness. Is this the beginning of the end?
Breaking tonight, a jaw-dropping blunder at the NATO summit has Washington reeling. President Biden's latest gaffe isn't just embarrassing, it's raising serious questions about who's really running the show. We've got exclusive footage that'll make your head spin, and wait until you see how Ukraine's Zelensky reacted. Plus, a Democrat is finally saying what many have been thinking. And folks, you won't believe what's unfolding behind the scenes. Stay tuned for my final thought. It's a wake-up call every American needs to hear. Now, folks, before we dive into this shocking report, a quick word from our sponsor. Just like Biden's gaffes, your energy bills keep piling up. But while the president fumbles names, you can take control of your power costs. Imagine a device that slashes your energy usage faster than Biden can mix up world leaders. That's exactly what I've got plugged in at my home. It's like having a Secret Service agent for your appliances, protecting them from energy waste. Head to don'twastepower.com for a 60-day risk-free trial, 65% off and free shipping. Don't let high energy bills be your political disaster. Order now at don'twastepower.com. All right, let's get into it. At the NATO summit, President Biden made a blunder that's got everyone talking. In a moment that left world leaders stunned, he called Ukrainian President Zelensky President Putin. Yes, you heard that right. Take a look at the shocking moment.
And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Wow. Now, if you thought that was bad, wait until you see Zelensky's reaction. Okay, we've got it cropped and zoomed so you can see it all. The face says it all. Watch.
And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin.
Wow. See that? He's like, wait, what? What did you say? The face says it all, doesn't it? But it's not just Zelensky who was caught off guard. The other NATO leaders couldn't hide their shock either. Roll tape.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Now, Biden tried to brush it off, saying he was so focused on beating Putin that he misspoke. But folks, this is not just a simple slip of the tongue. It's part of a pattern that's raising serious questions about Biden's fitness for office. And it's not just us saying it. For the first time, a sitting House Democrat is suggesting that Biden should step down. Take a look at the headline on your screen right there. Representative Marie Perez from Washington State is saying what many Americans have been thinking. Americans deserve to feel their president is fit enough to do the job. She's even questioning whether Biden is really the one making the important decisions about our country. But it gets worse. Foreign officials are now speaking out about Biden's condition. CNN is reporting that Biden appears exhausted during overseas events, often needing scheduled downtime. They're saying his entire presidency is being carefully stage managed to hide his decline. You can see it right there on the screen. One source even described Biden's private meetings with his own cabinet as kind of an act. So let that sink in. And it's not just freshman representatives speaking out. Here's what Representative Adam Smith, a senior Democrat from Washington, had to say on CNN. Watch.
Well, look, I think he should step aside. I think it's become clear that he's not the best person to carry the Democratic message. And we got a good message. The president has shown he is not capable of delivering that message in an effective way. And look, a lot of Democrats are saying, well, let's move on. Let's stop talking about it. We're not the ones who are bringing it up. Our constituents are bringing it up. The country is bringing it up. And the White House, campaign strategy of be quiet and fall in line and let's ignore it simply isn't working right now.
When your own party is saying it's time to step aside, you know things are bad. But the White House seems to think if they just ignore the problem, it will go away. Well, I've got news for them. The American people are not buying it. And now we have exclusive footage from outside the summit of Biden supporters reacting to that Zelensky-Putin moment. Let's go to that tape.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Just kidding. That was actually footage from Trump's inauguration, but you can imagine how the Biden team is feeling right now. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Folks, Biden has made us a laughing stock on the world stage. Mixing up Zelensky and Putin, it's beyond embarrassing. It's dangerous. Maybe he should take that Democrat rep's advice and step down, but you know me. Part of me hopes he wants to just keep on going and stays in. Why? Because watching him fumble through debates and gaffes right up to November will be a wake-up call for every American. When Trump wipes the floor with them, it'll be a landslide victory for our republic. So stay tuned. It's going to be one heck of a show. Next, a 1-year-old boy found alive in Louisiana after 2 days missing following his brother's tragic death. Angie has more.
A heartbreaking story out of Louisiana has taken an unexpected turn. A 1-year-old boy was found alive in a ditch near Interstate 10 nearly 2 days after going missing. This discovery comes just a day after his 4-year-old brother was tragically found dead in a nearby body of water. The infant, dubbed a miracle baby by Sheriff Gary Guillory, survived severe weather conditions before being spotted by a passing truck driver. He's now safe and in state custody. The children's mother has been arrested in Mississippi on charges of failing to report a missing child. As the investigation continues, our thoughts and prayers are with the family and community affected by this tragic event. Don't miss Gary's ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. Next up, President Biden's chaotic press conference raises serious questions about his leadership and cognitive health.
Breaking news tonight, President Biden's press conference spirals into chaos, raising alarming questions about his fitness for office. Arriving over an hour late, Biden's performance shocked the nation with a series of gaffes and confusing statements. From mistaking key figures to bizarre outbursts, we'll break down every jaw-dropping moment, but stick around. You don't want to miss our final thought on what this means for the future of America and the upcoming election. It's a special report you cannot afford to miss. And just as Biden's press conference exposed a leadership crisis, America faces a potential food crisis that could leave us unprepared. Like a president fumbling through questions, we might stumble through empty grocery stores. That's why I trust RationReady.com to keep my family fed. Their year-long food supply is as crucial as a clear-thinking commander-in-chief. With 16 delicious varieties from beef to mac and cheese, it's the steady diet we need in uncertain times. Order now to get 2 free reports, The Final Famine and the Red Dragon Report Essential Intel for Surviving Any Crisis. Don't delay. Visit RationReady.com to watch their eye-opening video before it's taken down. Now let's dive into the disaster that unfolded at the press conference tonight. President Biden's highly anticipated big boy press conference quickly devolved into a spectacle that has left many questioning his ability to lead our republic. The chaos began before Biden even stepped up to the podium. The press conference, originally scheduled for 5:30 p.m. Central Time, was pushed back to 6:30 p.m. But even that revised time came and went with no sign of the president. As we waited, the scene outside of the Walter E. Washington Convention Center painted a troubling picture. Take a look at this footage from Laura Loomer. barriers. Wow, unreal. What you saw there, metal barriers and a heavy police presence blocking off entire streets. The streets are locked down like a war zone with metal walls erected to keep the public out. These are the optics of a third world dictator, not the leader of the free world. Finally, at 6:42 p.m. Central, a full 72 minutes late, Biden shuffled to the podium, but the delay was just the beginning of the evening's troubles. Right out the gate, Biden admitted to using pre-selected lists of reporters. Watch.
That, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here.
You just saw the president openly admit he's been given a list of reporters to call on. So much for a free and open press. But it gets worse. In his very first response, Biden referred to Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump. I'm not making this up. See for yourself.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Did you catch that? He clearly said Vice President Trump when referring to Kamala Harris. But the gaffe wasn't just shocking to viewers. Take a look at the reaction from Biden's own cabinet members. Watch.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is...
You can see the heartbreak and dismay on their faces. This moment might well mark Biden's last big boy press conference as his team grapples with the fallout. This gaffe set the tone for an evening filled with confusion and misstatements. When he challenged on how historically low approval ratings, Biden made a claim that left the fact checkers scrambling. Watch.
And I might add, there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now, later in the campaign.
Biden just claimed that at least 5 presidents had lower approval ratings than him. It's simply not true. But when pressed on his verbal slip-ups, Biden's reaction was concerning, to say the least. Watch.
I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that. Officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing in my leading this conference? Have you seen a more successful conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, here, I mean, Putin. I said, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I added 5 other names. Look, guys, the idea anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference, I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is well, anyway.
Well, anyway. You saw it. Biden getting defensive and combative when questioned about mixing up world leaders' names. The president's irritability continued when questioned about his stamina. Watch his reaction.
How can you say you'll be up for that next year, in 2 years, in 4 years, given the limits you've acknowledged that you have today?
The limits I've acknowledged I have?
There's been reporting that you've acknowledged that you need to go to bed earlier and your evening around 8.
That's not true. Look, what I said was, instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. And I said, for example, the 8, 7, 6 stuff, instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock. People get to go home by 10 o'clock. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, and if you looked at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, I mean, my schedule has been full bore.
You saw him. He laughed off concerns about his late-night schedule, claiming he needs to pace himself. But perhaps the most concerning and alarming moment came when Biden, the commander-in-chief, seemed to forget his own role. Watch.
I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people.
Did you hear that? The President of the United States just said he's following the advice of his commander-in-chief. He is the commander-in-chief. When challenged on his previous statement about being a bridge candidate, Biden's response was nothing short of delusional. Watch.
You refer to yourself as being a bridge candidate for a younger, fresher generation of Democratic leaders, and I wanted to know what changed.
What changed was the gravity of the situation I inherited in terms of the economy, our foreign policy, and domestic division. And I think, I won't put words in anybody's mouth, most presidential historians give me credit for having accomplished more than most any president since Johnson and maybe before that to get major pieces of legislation passed. And what I realized was my long time in the Senate had equipped me to have the wisdom to know how to deal with the Congress, to get things done. We got more major legislation passed that no one thought would happen. And I want to finish it, to get that finished. If tomorrow, if we had a circumstance where there was a lineup and I hadn't inherited what I did and we just moved things along, anyway, it's going to change.
He just claimed most presidential historians credit him with accomplishing more than any president since Johnson. And then, without warning, Biden began shouting. Watch.
We're sitting around. This is where Kamala's so good as well. We're sitting around. More children are killed by a bullet than any other cause of death. The United States of America. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing?
Exactly. What are we doing? You witnessed the President of the United States suddenly yelling during a press conference. Now, this is not the first time concerns have been raised about Biden's mental acuity. The Trump campaign released this ad back in May, asking a question that seems more relevant than ever. Watch.
Americans are struggling in Biden's economy, but Biden's ignoring our problems.
Our economy is strong as hell.
He keeps denying reality. Is it dishonesty or dementia? Utility bills are going up. Electricity costs have risen 25% under Biden, and food prices are skyrocketing. Biden's weak. He's failed, and he's dishonest. We had more in our pockets when Trump was president. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
The ad, it highlights Biden's repeated denials of economic struggles and questions whether it's dishonesty or dementia. So as we reflect on tonight's events, it's clear that serious questions need to be asked about the president's fitness for office. The American people deserve transparency and honesty from their leaders. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Tonight was clearly a curtain call for this administration. What we've witnessed isn't just a series of gaffes, but a stark revelation of decline at the highest level of our government. From mixing up world leaders to forgetting his own role, each stumble raises alarm about Biden's fitness for office. He'd be better served with warm milk and cookies than running our republic. This isn't about politics. It's about our nation's safety and stability. we're left with a White House scrambling and a public demanding answers. But there is hope on the horizon. Come November, we have a chance for real leadership in Donald Trump. Our future hangs in the balance. Next, Angie has a story. A 10-year-old boy collapses from hypothermia at Hampton Beach, highlighting the hidden dangers of cold ocean water in the summer.
A day at the beach turned into a nightmare for a Massachusetts mom, Heather Cassini, when her 10-year-old son, Declan, collapsed after swimming in cold ocean water. At New Hampshire's Hampton Beach on July 4th, Declan became disorientated and repeatedly fell unconscious. Bystanders and lifeguarders rushed to help, and paramedics diagnosed him with hypothermia from the 50-degree water. Dr. Christopher Kelly, a pediatric emergency expert, warns that water below 70 degrees can cause hypothermia, even on warm days, with children at higher risk. Cassini, shocked by the experience, is now warning other parents about this lesser-known danger. Thankfully, Declan has fully recovered. Don't miss Gary's ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. That is all the news we have for you for this edition of N3 Primetime. Now it's time to make your voice heard in the comments section.
Welcome to the comments section, where we dive into your reactions to the biggest stories of the day. Tonight we're looking at your comments on our video titled 198 Lawmakers Just Betrayed Their Oath of Office When They Cast Their Vote to Destroy Yours. Let's get right into it. First, we have The Truth Starts Here, who says 198 people that should be voted out of Congress. Well, you are right. It's astonishing so many elected officials can betray their oath of office and still expect to hold their positions. These lawmakers have shown they do not represent the will of the people. It's time for us to hold them accountable, and we need to ensure that our representatives are actually representing us and not some hidden agenda. Voting them out is the first step to reclaiming our republic. Next, we have Mark, who comments, if you're not a citizen of the U.S., you have no say in our republic. America is a republic. Let's keep it that way. Well, Mark, you are spot on. America is indeed a republic, not a playground for outsiders to dictate our laws and policies. The foundation of our nation is built on the principle that our citizens have the power to shape our future. Non-citizens trying to influence our political landscape is a direct threat to our sovereignty. We must protect the integrity of our republic and ensure that only American voices decide American policies. Now, Lori states, treason being committed by these traitors. Well, Lori, you are echoing the sentiments of many Americans right now. When our elected officials take actions that undermine our Constitution and betray their oath of office, it certainly feels like treason. These actions are the direct affront to the principles our country was founded upon. We need to call out these traitors for what they are and demand justice. A republic depends on holding these individuals accountable for their actions. And Tessa May says, I am sick of these people. They are the problem of this country, and I hope their constituents will vote them out of office. Well, Tessa, you're right. These lawmakers are a significant part of the problem. They've lost touch with the people they're supposed to serve. The only way to fix this is for their constituents to rise up and vote them out. It's time for a change, and that change starts at the ballot box. We need representatives who will prioritize the needs and values of the American people, not their own interests. Lastly, Cindy asks, how can you trust someone who has broken the law entering our country? Well, Cindy, your question strikes at the core of the issue. How can we trust lawmakers who support policies that allow lawbreakers to enter and stay in our country? It's a betrayal of our trust and our safety. Law and order are the bedrock of a functioning society, and when our leaders fail to uphold these principles, they fail us all. We need to demand accountability and ensure that our laws are enforced to protect our citizens and our republic. So there you have it, folks. Your comments reflect the frustration and anger many of us feel towards these lawmakers who've turned their back on their oath of office. It's time for us to stand together, hold them accountable, and take our republic back. So thank you for your comments, and maybe, just maybe next time, your comment will make the cut. Tonight on Looking at You, we're shedding a spotlight on Kristen Megan, a former U.S. Air Force environmental specialist who's blown the lid off a story that'll make your head spin. Now, folks, we've heard whispers about so-called chemtrails for years. Most brush it off as conspiracy talk. But Megyn isn't some random internet commentator. She is a military veteran with insider knowledge, and what she's saying should alarm every American who values our republic. Listen to what she had to say.
Military veteran, right?
Yes, I was in the U.S. Air Force for 9 years.
Wow. And you came out and blew the whistle on geoengineering, things that you witnessed were going on. Can you give us the real nutshell?
Absolutely. Basically, I had heard of what many people know as the term chemtrails. And I worked in a job called bioenvironmental engineering, and I thought that was insane. And why would we do something like that? Modify the weather by using hazardous materials in our atmosphere? So, and actually the process of trying to debunk it or disprove it, I realized it was actually coming right out of my office, as I was one of the people that was approving the chemicals. And it really shook the core of my oath. And I did a lot of sampling, did a lot of investigation, and I blew the whistle and I got out. And I've now used my credentials, my oath, and my powers for good to help people understand it's very real. It's now openly admitted. There are multiple forms of weather modification. I specifically found the one of...
You heard that right. You heard that right. Megyn set out to debunk chemtrails only to discover she was approving the very chemicals being used. She's talking about geoengineering, attempts to modify our weather using hazardous materials. So why does this matter to you, the American people? Well, it's simple. If what Megyn is saying is true, we're looking at a massive government program that's potentially affecting our health, our climate, and our way of life, all without our consent or knowledge. This isn't just about weird lines in the sky. It's about transparency. It's about the government potentially experimenting on its own citizens, and it's about the brave whistleblowers like Megyn, who risk everything to bring us the truth. We're told to trust the experts, to believe in the science. But what happens when those experts are hiding something this big? It's time we start asking tough questions and demanding real answers. Stay vigilant, America. The truth is out there, and it might be right above our heads. So, Patriots, what have we learned tonight? We've seen a bird flu summit that's got more red flags than a Chinese parade. We've caught the left with their pants down trying to smear Trump with lies so obvious, even my dog could spot them. And we've watched the Democrat Party squirm like a worm on a hook as Biden fumbles his way through press conferences. But here's the thing, folks. This is not just news. This is your life. It's your country. It's your future. When they plan for pandemics, when they lie about candidates, when they prop up a leader who can't tell Ukraine from Russia, that affects you. It affects your wallet, your safety, and your freedom. We're not just telling you stories. We're shining a light on the roaches in Washington who think they can scurry around in the dark making decisions that will shape your life without you noticing. That's all for tonight, folks. Before we go, a big thank you to Angie for her sharp news briefs. You knocked it out of the park, as always. And to everyone staying up late with us again in the live chat, your comments keep us on our toes and remind us why we do this. You're the backbone of this operation. Now let's get real for a moment. It's been a year since we last reached out, and we've got to level with you. We're in a tight spot. For over a decade, we have been your beacon of truth, but now we are facing our toughest challenge yet. YouTube demonetized us. Other platforms are giving us the cold shoulder, but here's the thing, we're not backing down. This isn't just about keeping the lanterns lit. It's about fighting for the soul of America. In the upcoming election, well, it's make or break time for our country, and we need to be there, cutting through the BS and giving you the real story. So I'm asking you, not just as a news guy, but as a fellow American who cares about this country, stand with us. Whether it's a few bucks or a prayer, we need your support now more than ever. Check the links below to chip in. Every bit helps us keep fighting the good fight. Together we can keep this torch of truth burning bright. So stay sharp, America. Thanks for watching, and good night.